Good morning, Hampton Roads. How's everybody doing today? And welcome to Virginia's only local real estate investing podcast, where we get to talk about local investors, local deals, and all things local. I'm your host, the founder of the Master Investor Academy and author of my best-selling book, Work Just Gets in the Way of Making Money, Scott Jelinek. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, things you'd like to discuss, or properties you'd like to sell, go ahead and text me directly at 757-699-4227. That's 757-699-4227. So a couple of things I want to tell you about. So first off, just yesterday, I did a podcast talking about co-wholesaling versus daisy chaining, right? Ironically, I didn't even put the podcast out yesterday toward the evening. I got a text from a friend of mine telling me I got this property at, I think it was at 115. He says, if I can get 135 for it, we'll split it, meaning I'll make 10. He'll make 10. And this morning, I had somebody go out and look at it and I got it sold. And it was just seemed so ironic to me because it was just what we were talking about yesterday. And then between yesterday and today, I'm making $10,000 from a co-wholesale situation. Big difference between co-wholesale and daisy chaining. I would never do daisy chaining and never approve of it for anyone to do. But nevertheless, I wanted to make mention of that to you. So a couple of things I wanted to touch on today. One of the big ones is, I'm sure you guys may or may not have seen in the news yesterday that the CDC has extended the eviction moratorium. We kind of, we all felt like it was going to happen, but we got so close. Today is the 30th. So it just happened yesterday on the 29th. So, everybody was hoping maybe it won't happen. So if you remember, I think the original one came out on September 3rd. And then that one was good through December 31st. And then as we got to December 31st, they extended to January 31st. Then we all had our fingers crossed that it was going to end, and they extended to March 30th or 31st. And then just yesterday, now they extended to June 30th. And as much as we would like to be like, okay, well, in July we get to work, who's to say whether or not they're just going to keep extending. So a couple of things I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about one of my coaching clients' situation that he's in right now, which is in the same thing we're talking about. Well, anyway, this is so a couple of things I want to talk about. One of them is the government is giving money. So this is a big thing to understand. So yes, they're not letting us evict people, which is a major pain in the butt. And not because we want to evict anybody, but we just want to keep people on track. So we have a contract between us. They keep up their end of the contract. We keep up our end of the contract. Well, the law helps to keep that contract on track. Now, the government is getting involved in a sense where they are paying people's rent, which is great. And now, again, it's not like it's a windfall. That's your own money you were supposed to be getting anyway. However, the problem with that, and it's not a problem, it's fine. I like when they pay. I want my tenants to get free money. I'm happy for them. When I get a check and they got to live 6 months for free, I'm happy for them, as long as they're hopefully bettering themselves with whatever they save. The problem comes in when you have an uncooperative tenant, when you have a tenant who won't answer your calls, doesn't cooperate at all. And so they're not filing for the assistance, because people are like, oh, you can file for them. You can file for them. As a landlord, we're allowed to file for our tenants. However, they still have to cooperate. They still have to show their bank statements. They still have to show their pay stubs. They still have to be involved. You can't just file and expect to get a check in the mail. So I'm all for the program. I'm all for not evicting anybody, and I'm all for the government paying their rent for them. None of that I have a problem with. Where I do have a problem is when you have an uncooperative tenant who's not even answering your calls, doesn't want to do anything, even though it's free for them, free money for them. They're just uncooperative, and yet we still can't evict them. And this CDC moratorium, if you read the rules have been changing, and they keep coming up with more rules. Well, they are stating that this person has to sign saying that their income has been affected by Corona. They have to sign saying that they have nowhere else that they're going to be able to live. They have to sign all these different things and swear under oath to it. But nobody's enforcing it or even checking on anything they say. So I have one in particular, that one I recently just told you the story about, that now finally got condemned. Well, anyway, we had gotten judgment granted on them a while ago and possession. The sheriff actually went to their house to do an eviction, and this might have been September-ish. Well, they handed that CDC form to the sheriff, and it canceled out everything. Then we knew we couldn't do anything till December 31st, which continued on to January, to March, to now June. Well, That form basically is them lying under oath. It says under penalty of perjury, but nobody's enforcing anything. And it also says that they are making payments to the best of their ability. Well, they paid zero since last March. They didn't pay $50, $100, something. It also says that they're trying, you have to swear under oath that you're trying to participate in all these government programs, which I think if they actually try, they'll get the free money, but they have to do the work. They have to actually try. So here they are swearing under penalty of perjury that they have applied for all these government programs. They never applied for anything. So that's where the problem comes in. And there should be some advocate on the side of the landlord for when these people are just playing the system and straight out lying. That's all. I don't want to get into that too far, but I just wanted to let you guys know that it has been extended. It is going to be another situation we're going to have to deal with. It's not the end of the world. To be frankly honest with you, most of the tenants are paying, and most of them are doing way better than I even expected. When last March hit, I was preparing my people for Armageddon. I thought it was going to be mass people not paying, and in the end, it was very, very few. So I have 115 properties. I had 2 that were trailing behind. Now I only have 1, actually, and she's not even that far behind anymore because she did get assistance, but they left about 3-month gap in there. But the rest of them might be a month or 2, but they're still working with the assistance. But most of them are paying. Most of them are paying just fine. So it wasn't the mass Armageddon like I was expecting, like 2008. It wasn't bad at all. So for the most part, most of the tenants are doing good. But there's some that are just playing the system. The regular ones that would have been evicted, Corona or not, they're the ones that are playing the game and playing the system. Anyway, that's not even what I wanted to talk to you about today. I just wanted to make you guys aware of it. What I wanted to talk to you about is one of my coaching clients just closed on a property on a slow flip. And then after closing, they text the owner, can I get the key or whatever? And the owner's been dark, never, no response. Well, so anyway, so they have somebody now who wants to buy it from them. Well, I told them, I said, just go ahead and hire a locksmith because you can't wait if the owner's not giving you the key. Just hire a locksmith. Cost you $75 and let's move on. Well, anyway, the locksmith went out there and told them it's occupied. And so they have a challenge right now, which is because of everything we just discussed with this eviction moratorium, they cannot just do a regular eviction. I mean, they might be able to if in fact the person doesn't know the game and tries to go through this "you can't evict me" stuff. But they are in a position, and this is why I wanted to discuss this, because it is very important. It's always been important, but it's especially important now with this eviction moratorium going on, that you inspect your property before closing. You go by and you make sure it's vacant. You make sure if there was a seller living in it, you make sure that the seller has moved out and you get a key. If there was a tenant in it, you make sure the tenant's moved out. But you do that the day of eviction. If you're buying a property that the owner lived in, you cannot close until you're verified that they're out. So let's say you don't go there before closing. Well, the day of closing, you generally get a key. And if not, you just go over there and change the locks if you have to. But typically the seller, at least in Virginia, the seller doesn't get their money till the next day, which means if you go there that day and the seller's still in there and they're like, oh, I'm not leaving. Well, you call your attorney immediately and you tell them, do not record. I want to undo this deal. And so I wanted to make sure to share that with you guys because it's going to be right now. Normally it's not that big of a deal, but right now with the eviction moratorium on, it can be a big deal because again, right now it's through July, through the end of June, but we don't know, nobody has faith anymore that they're going to extend it again and again and again. So you don't want to get into a situation where you paid cash for something or you finance something and now you have a payment due and yet you have somebody in the property that you can't get out. So one last thing I want to touch on before I let you go. If you have a tenant, or let's say there's a seller that says, well, I need the money from this closing to be able to move. That happens. Sometimes that's the only money. They need the money from the closing to pay for their truck and to pay to move. That's okay. And we can work with that. But the way we handle that is we hold back money in escrow. So let's say they're getting 30 grand. We might say, well, we're going to hold back 10 grand. So you're getting 20 grand, which is more than enough to move. We're not physically going to hold it. The attorney's going to hold that money. And then it's going to say in the paperwork, oh, you have 5 days to get out of the property. And then it's $100 a day every day thereafter. So now they have a big incentive to actually get out of the property because if they don't move, it's costing them $3,000 a month while you work on getting them out. So I just wanted to make sure to share that with you so you don't find yourself falling in that situation where you close on a property and someone's still in it. I recently shared an article of one I read about in California. Now, California has the worst eviction laws going on right now, where a couple closed on a property, and this is like a $600,000 house, and the seller is in it and will not move. It's been several months now, And these people paid cash for the property, and there's nothing they can do. They're going through the process, and there's nothing they can do. And so I want to tell you guys in advance, so we don't get into that situation. Make sure you inspect your property before closing. If not, go directly after closing. And if it is not vacant, then call your attorney and say you do not want to record, you want to undo the transaction. And if the person does need to stay for a day or 2 or 5, make sure we hold back money in escrow, $5,000, $10,000 of their proceeds, and then put a per diem in there. So it'll be $100 a day if they're not out by whatever date was agreed on. That's all I got for you guys today. Go ahead and do something today your future self's going to thank you for. I thank you for watching. Make sure you go ahead and click the like button so that I know you're out there, and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you guys soon. Have an absolutely fantastic day.